Hi everyone, thanks for tuning in.
I'm Rippy.
And I'm Shay.
And we are the Ladies-in-Law.
And we're ripping and shaking up all the legal information you know, need to know, and want to know.
From the tabloids to the courthouse to your own home.
Yes. And for this episode, we have something very interesting that kind of hits home to us.
Yeah, exactly.
One of the most iconic singers of all time, who's from our city, Detroit, who completely dropped the ball. Dropped the ball on something that's so important. And nobody thinks it's important, but guess what it is? It's called estate planning.
Today we'll be talking about the importance of proper estate planning so your children and your beneficiaries don't have to fight over your assets after you die. Now, Aretha Franklin passed back in August of 2018, and her 4 sons are currently involved in a very nasty court battle over her estate. Now, when she passed, her estate was valued at around $80 million, but it's growing by the day.
Well, it's actually, Aretha Franklin is worth more money, and I think the same with like Michael Jackson.
After they died.
After they passed. I think you were telling me they're creating a movie on
Yeah,
it.
they're supposed to be creating, I think there's maybe two movies or a movie and a TV show in the works. So all that's more money that her estate is collecting that, is in limbo right now as her sons fight over who gets what.
And you know what? We, on a smaller scale, as estate planning, we do estate planning as part of our law practice. Money brings out the worst in people.
Absolutely. Like even family members, like money, you know how people say money is the root of all evil?
It really is. We've seen it. We've been in hospitals witnessing it, doing
oh
estate planning. Oh my God, that was the first time we did that. It was whoa.
So this is why it's very important and why we wanted to make this video to share with you all about getting your affairs in order.
Right, and because somebody with like Aretha Franklin with so much money, so many resources, I mean, estate planning in the grand scheme of it, the cost, the effort it entails, and what she's dealt with her whole life seems so minor. It's almost mind-blowing that she didn't do it.
It really is. She did have attorneys before she passed. She had personal attorneys who actually drafted up a will for her.
Yeah.
She refused to sign it.
She was very ill, so they knew this is something that she needs to have done.
And even before she got sick. She was very sick last year of her life, but even before that, I'm sure her attorneys have advised her, as any competent attorney should, that she needs a will. I mean, if you're over a certain age, you certainly need a will. It's good for everybody because you don't know when you're going to leave, but especially, when you're over a certain age, you got to make sure that you have all of this in order.
It's just prudent, and we always advise our clients, even that come to us for something that doesn't require, they're not coming to us to get a will done or any other forms of estate planning, but we say, hey, you have certain assets, like those things are going to be completely up in limbo, and well, look what happened here.
Exactly. Whenever someone dies, there has to be someone who administers the assets in their estate. So in Michigan, we call it a personal representative. Some other states call it executive. But basically, this person will do an inventory of all the assets as well as pay down debt. And then after that, will distribute the property to who it's supposed to go to.
Right.
Now, in Aretha's case, the court appointed her niece as a personal representative because her niece was the one who was actually taking care of her the last year of her life. But her sons have objected to that, and they're fighting over that right now.
It's kind of funny to me because I don't think her daughter or her niece was going to necessarily inherit anything, which is what we're going to get into in a moment. But about PRs, that's what we call them for short, personal representatives. It's not so glamorous necessarily.
No, it's not. I mean, people think that, let me be personal representative, let me have control over the money, and I get to decide where it goes. No, as a personal representative, you are a fiduciary. You have duties to the court as well as to the estate, and you have to administer the estate properly as the law designates. You can't just swindle money away and do whatever you want to do.
And there are personal representatives, like we can, as lawyers, many times can be asked to be a personal representative for someone's estate
or we
have no benefit. We don't receive anything from the will, but we kind of do what's called
Or
grunt work.
we represent. So we have clients who have been appointed or designated personal representatives, and we as attorneys represent them and actually kind of do the legwork for them.
Right. And so I think there's sometimes a stigma attached to being I want to be the personal representative, the executor. I get to decide where things go. No, it's not really like that, because even if there isn't a will that's saying, things go here, and here.
Yeah, the court's going to appoint a personal representative that they feel is qualified and will do the job.
Fairly.
So Aretha's niece, in the process of her being personal representative, she has to go through Aretha's house, sit through all the bills and mail and whatever, and figure out how much the property is worth.
Yeah.
She ended up finding 3 handwritten wills. So 2 were in a locked cabinet.
Handwritten wills.
Handwritten. 2 were in a locked cabinet. 1 was in a couch.
Oh, wait, Jasmine, was that next to her uncashed hundreds of thousands of dollars check? This woman had not only not a formal will written up, but she had hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of uncashed checks stuffed in the sofa, stuffed in her purse.
Yeah.
Crazy.
A lot of times with elderly people, when they realize that their time is near, they just kind of neglect their bills and neglect their mail. That actually happened with my grandfather. My dad had to go in and clean up everything in his house, and found that he hadn't been paying bills or handling any financial affairs for the past 6 months. So I think, when you get to that certain point of life, you just have to decide what's more important to you. And at that time, it's really just living out the rest of your life versus handling your business.
No, and that's why it's so important that prior to that stage of your life, get estate planning done. Because when you are at that stage of your life,
you're not going to have the energy. You don't care what's going on. You just want to enjoy the rest of your time on this earth that you have. In Aretha's case, because the court found, because her niece found 3 handwritten wills, the court has determined which one of those 3 is actually going to be valid, if any of them are considered valid. So normally a will has to be in handwriting. It has to be signed by the person who is granting the money, as well as 2 witnesses who don't stand to receive anything under the will.
Right.
Now in Michigan and in some other states, they have what's called a holographic will, where they have to be handwritten as well as signed by the person, but they don't need witnesses. So in this case, it looks like Aretha has 3 possibly holographic wills, and we have to determine which, if any, will stand, because they all 3 say different things.
What a mess. So now in our practice, because we do estate planning, especially with a lot of wills, we really, obviously being attorneys, follow the legal requirements. We have it typewritten, very well written out with, and many times we're the witnesses. Here we're the attorneys.
Yeah, because we're independent. We're not going to inherit.
We're not going to inherit. So and being attorneys, it kind of gives a little more credibility. We make sure every formality is handled, and there's multiple copies of the will, and proper everything. So you can't question it at all. Aretha now did everything the opposite. Not only did she do a holographic will, which is handwritten, but she did 3 of them, and they were chicken scratch. I mean, these wills, you can Google it. You cannot barely read what she's
really tell what she's trying to say.
It's kind of crazy, and so what happens is, now that it's being litigated to figure out which will is valid, if any are, you have to hire handwriting experts.
Yeah, and it's my understanding that several of her sons have hired their own handwriting experts.
So you have how many now?
So these handwriting experts have to get paid, and they each have separate attorneys. There's 4 sons. There's the niece. They all have attorneys. The attorneys are winning in this case.
Yeah,
really. So
they
when
really
you don't
are.
estate plan, I mean, the attorneys win. But
why are we doing this video?
Well, we want to help you guys. We do. We want to help you on the front end.
Yeah.
We like to keep families together. We like to keep conflicts to a minimum. We like to avoid problems if we can.
Right. We don't want it to come back and haunt us either. No thank you.
Yeah, so we understand that it can be very difficult to think about your death. I mean, it's a very morbid subject. However, you can save your children, family members, a lot of time, a lot of money, and peace of mind if you just properly have your affairs in order. So we talked about a will. That's the main thing that people need to do. There's other ways that people can make sure that their property is going to who they want it to go to, and we will discuss some of those ways at a later date. But I think starting with a will is a solid thing to have. They don't take a lot of time and don't cost a lot of money. It's always going to be cheaper to pay now and have everything in place on the front end than to have your children or your whatever family members fighting and paying all these attorney's fees and expert witness fees.
Well, and I think even that, we've had clients who are very particular individuals. They've accumulated a lot of assets, they've been very successful, and they want to be in control after they pass away of where their property goes.
Yeah, they want to know exactly. They want it to go, their businesses and their houses to go to their children. They don't want and to specific children. Sometimes they've had children from a prior marriage that they want to specifically exclude from receiving certain things. So all of this can be spelled out in the will. If you want to leave things to your friends, I mean,
you
if
don't
you
have to leave it to a family member.
Your friends are not going to inherit. There's laws that designate who inherits when you don't have a will, and friends, charities are not included. So if you want to leave specific things to those people or entities, then you need to specify that in the will.
Yeah, you do. And, part of me thinks Aretha Franklin, with all of her assets, all of her resources, her everything, is laughing up in heaven saying, haha, I did exactly what I wanted. I wanted all of you fighting. Because it seems like every son got a different benefit from the 3 different wills she had. I don't know. But you know what? Cheers to Aretha Franklin. What a legendary icon.
Cheers.
Cheers.